Welcome to Author Update, your source of publishing news that actually matters to your career.
And today we're going to be talking about a whole lot of stuff. We're going to be talking about Anthropic. We're going to be talking about more contest drama on X, which is just what everyone needs. We're going to be talking about Amazon discontinuing the book club, how the new Amazon AI prompts for sponsored products could affect authors or doesn't, YouTube surpassing Disney, and man, we've got a humdinger of a Zeitgeist segment for you today. So this is Author Update. Let's get to updating.
And the biggest story for some of you is that $1.5 billion settlement from Anthropic. We've covered the story quite a bit. The big new development is not new, but it's an important reminder, and that is that you have 17 days left to file. If you don't, you won't get your money. Jonathan?
So time is now running out. The deadline is March 30th, 2026. That's 17 days from now. Anthropic, just running over the summary, Anthropic has agreed to pay $1.5 billion to settle claims. It runs out to being about $3,000 per book if they used your book to train their AI illegally. Most authors did not receive direct notice. You need to go to the official settlement website at anthropiccopyrightsettlement.com right away. Use the works list lookup tool to search by your name, book title, ISBN, or ASIN. If your books are on that list, you are likely eligible for this. However, this is the critical thing. If you don't do anything by the March 30th deadline, you're probably not going to get anything from that settlement fund. At the same time, you're bound by the settlement terms, which means you give up your right to bring any separate lawsuit against Anthropic for the claims covered in the case. You lose your money, and you will not be able to go after them on your own. Filing only takes minutes. There's an easy online claim form. You can submit multiple books on one form. There is a final approval hearing set for April 23rd, and once that's approved, payments will follow after processing. If you haven't done this yet or you haven't checked this yet, you are running out of time. Stop procrastinating. Stop cleaning your house when you should be writing and checking to see if your book is on the list.
and do it today. A lot of authors like to wait into the last minute. This is not the sort of thing you want to wait to the last minute to do, because if you miss something or you need some piece of documentation, you don't have it, you've now missed out on $3,000 or more. I know some authors who have $40,000, $50,000 worth of books in this settlement. That's a significant amount of money. That is not wait to the last minute money. That is do it right now.
No. You know how much advertising you get for $3,000 because somebody used your book the wrong way? That's a pretty sweet deal.
So for more information, go to, what's the official website? It was
anthropiccopyrightsettlement.com.
Anthropiccopyrightsettlement.com is the official website. There's some indie contest drama. Somehow some contest drama snuck in to Author Update. What's the deal on this, Jonathan?
So S-Fink, the speculative fiction indie novella championship, has jumped into hot water when two judges did not pass Yuval Kordov's entry, Sisters of Mercy, due to a religious bias. The judges claimed that they had no religious background or interest in religion, and therefore the work had no relevance to them. Naturally, people started fighting about it. People said, well, according to your terms of service, you accept all religions, sexual orientations, all that stuff. The contest organizers themselves fired back. They were very strongly resisting the idea that their judges had done anything wrong. One nice thing to see was that Yuval Kordov himself, he's the author of the Dark Legacies trilogy, which is pretty decent from what I hear. I've started reading it, but it's so heavy that it takes a little more time to chew through. He had a very gratifying response. He thanked everyone who came out for him in support, but conceded his elimination graciously. His story, Sisters of Mercy, was actually against the idea of religious brainwashing, similar in the way that the Dune series handles it. Science fiction has been plagued by anti-religious bias for decades. Sometimes people will just turn off stuff because it has the word God in it, and their brains cease being able to process I'm not trying to say intelligent, but in a useful way. They're not able to, in a critical way.
Yeah.
To where they can accept the good and leave out the bad. So this kind of thing isn't surprising. I've run into it a lot. Even if you're not trying to evangelize the reader, these kinds of people just don't want to read anything about it, and so it can lead to just a summary rejection. Dune has, also suffered from this kind of thing. Oh, hey, you switched us back.
Yeah. People are complaining that
They
we're not
noticed.
on our normal side.
It's wrong. So again, indie contest drama. I don't see any value in joining indie contests. I've done a few. I didn't see any giant thing in sales unless you get
The
discriminated
real
against
value
like
is
this.
getting canceled from
Yeah, last
a
year Devin
contest.
Erickson happened to him over something because he's libertarian or something. And then this year it's Yuval Kordov. He's already made a bunch of sales off of this kind of thing. So, that might be the value of it. As far as joining the contest themselves, you're seeking prestige, you're seeking validation, and I don't see a whole lot of value in joining these things.
So
unless this happens to you, in which case it's very good for you.
So apply to contests in which you're most likely to get canceled for maximum impact. So in a time when every author is being pitched by a million different fake book clubs, none of which are real, and all of which, or most of which, are one guy in Nigeria with a million little AI puppets. Amazon has discontinued its actual book club feature. This feature is now gone, and users are now redirected to Goodreads. Jonathan?
So, I mean, that's basically the news. I mean, they discontinued their book club feature because of the scam thing that was happening, and now everyone has been directed to go over to Goodreads. This has removed one more avenue for direct reader engagement on the Amazon platform. Writers and promoters could use the clubs to notify readers about new releases. Fan groups could form around specific titles. Authors could encourage readers to suggest their books, join discussions, or recommend other authors in the same genre. Really, I never used this. I didn't know anyone who used it. Goodreads is, if you're going to do something like this, Goodreads is really the platform to be on anyway. It's kind of really, it's redundant. This shutdown did surprise a whole lot of club administrators, so the people running those clubs, they're like, wait, what? I've been working on this.
Which I feel actually, we're joking, but imagine you just spent the last 10 years building up a group of 100,000 readers, and this is your influence, this is your social circle, and then poof, it's all gone. This is the risk of sharecropping, right? Building your platform on somebody else's land.
You didn't own those people. You didn't own that metadata. You didn't own nothing about that just because I had your book on it. And now you can't engage with them anymore unless, the scattering fireflies fly back into your little jar you're trying to catch them with.
And they didn't give a whole lot of notice. They gave a few weeks notice. I think in general, though, this feature was on the downswing and Amazon hadn't been promoting it. But Amazon's doing a lot of pruning. They're pruning a lot of people. They're pruning a lot of projects. And they're saying that they are, redirecting these money and energy towards new projects. And a lot of people contacted us excited about the new AI prompts for sponsored products feature that Amazon just rolled out. And we are sad to announce that while Amazon did roll out this new feature, it is specifically excluding you because Amazon loves you so very much. Jonathan?
So, they did roll this out. I got the email for it a few days ago. They'll move sponsored product prompts and sponsored brand prompts from open beta to general availability in the United States on March 25th. They act as a virtual product expert. They automatically engage shoppers with relevant contextual information at key moments in the buying journey. This AI draws on Amazon's first-party signals from product detail pages, brand stores, yada, yada, yada. The prompts are supposed to address questions shoppers might have before they even ask. This approach deepens shopper confidence and helps move buyers toward purchase without extra effort from advertisers. Now, there are deeper insights that occur here. If you create a report, you can select the prompts type. You can the billing follows the standard cost per click, but it's only available to U.S. Amazon advertisers running sponsored products and sponsored brands campaigns, and explicitly excludes authors and publishers. Book marketers who rely on sponsored products to promote their titles will not receive these AI enhancements at launch. Other product categories gain the extra engagement layer while book campaigns continue under existing rules. So if you were going to try to use this to buffer your or to buff your Amazon advertising efforts, you are explicitly excluded from advertising books.
So it's not a big story for authors. I will say there's a lot of buzz. We're live on 2 channels right now, and I accidentally linked to the wrong channel on the email that I sent out to everyone. So we're live on both Novel Marketing, and we're also live on Author Update. And so for those of you on the Novel Marketing channel wondering why there's no action in the chat, there is action in the chat over on Author Update, which is where most people are. But Novel Marketing just passed 10,000 subscribers, so perhaps there's some people discovering Author Update for the first time because,
hey, welcome!
Surprise! We went live on the wrong channel because I was doing too many things at the same time. Speaking of YouTube, this is actually some really big news.
Yeah.
And that is that YouTube has now surpassed Disney as the world's largest media company. Jonathan?
By revenue.
By money. Because how else do we count?
Well, I mean, we're Disney. We're the biggest. Research firm MoffettNathanson estimates the platform YouTube generated $62 billion in total revenue in 2025. That total tops the $60.9 billion earned by Disney's media business last year, which does exclude their experience division, so like the theme parks and stuff. Alphabet first reported YouTube crossed $60 billion, and the new analysis confirms the milestone.
So some real quick, before Jonathan continues giving you more info on this, some real quick context. Google or Alphabet is the bigger company than Disney.
Yes.
By far. But we're not counting the full size of the companies here. So we're not looking at the full weight of Disney. So we're excluding Disney's theme parks and cruise lines. And probably merch as well. And we're excluding all of Google.com and Google Docs and G Suite and Gemini and all the million things that Alphabet has going on. So just looking at YouTube.com as a revenue source and Disney Entertainment, which is their movies, their TV shows like ABC, ESPN, all their sports stuff, all of the entertainment stuff bundled together, bundle all of that together, and it doesn't beat YouTube. All right. Back to the story.
Thank you, Kelly, for the super chat. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Kelly.
So YouTube's advertising revenue alone hit $40.4 billion in 2025. So if you've ever been annoyed by YouTube's ads, they're making lots of money on it, so they're not sending it away. That figure beat the combined ad revenue of Disney, NBC Universal, Paramount, and Warner Brothers Discovery, which only totaled $37.8 billion. In 2024, YouTube's ad revenue of $36.1 billion still trailed their combined $41.8. Subscriptions now add major revenue too. There's YouTube Premium, YouTube Music, NFL Sunday Ticket, and YouTube TV with its 10 million subscribers. YouTube pays out $100 billion to creators, artists, and media partners over the last 4 years alone. The CEO, Neil Mohan, highlighted the model. He said that this platform would help creators build audiences anywhere in the world and help them build businesses. So we're looking at the shift from an institution or a corporate fed entertainment structure to a creator generated one. Now, like us, you can sit in front of your webcam and stream on 2 channels simultaneously.
Because we are professionals. So what does this have to do with authors? Well, in what other industry have the big corporations been overtaken by an army of little guys run through a website that connects the army of little guys directly with customers? Oh, indie publishing. So what we don't have is as good financial data. Nobody's done a similar style report on Amazon.com's publishing arm, just looking at the books. But I suspect Amazon is bringing in more money from their indie books in total than the traditional publishers are on Amazon, and maybe traditional publishers overall. In many genres, we see the bestseller list dominated by indie authors. And the indie authors are making a lot of money. And so this is the trend. So what used to be the way to make money and the way the industry worked was that you would have producers who would pick which movies would get greenlit. Now anybody with a dream and an AI prompting engine can.
That's like a dream. Hallucinations are dreams, right?
I was hallucinating, and then I got the AI to hallucinate with me, and now we're hallucinating together. And we're going to share that hallucination with you. Welcome to YouTube. Don't call it slop. This hallucination was real.
Yep,
so there's a lot of variety on YouTube and a lot of very specific content for very specific people. And I will say, I don't have a Netflix subscription anymore. And
I don't either.
But we do watch stuff like Dude Perfect. I'll watch Dude Perfect with my kids on YouTube, but we'll watch some like old like Christian content. There's a Hide 'Em in Your Heart series that my wife grew up with the VHSs of, and like those videos are now on YouTube. And with YouTube, we can specifically curate content for our kids that is compatible with our worldview and with our religion, which we can't do on Disney. Disney has nothing that's compatible with our worldview and our religion. At best, it's neutral, and most of it is hostile. And this ability to tweak and provide a diversity of voices is giving platforms like YouTube and platforms like Amazon competitive advantage. And this kind of everyone has to be the same. Everyone has to have the same politics, right? Everybody at Disney is a Democrat. Right, exclusively. And if somebody even says something remotely not Democrat, they'll get fired, right? Gina Carano got fired because she said one thing that wasn't exactly Democratic, and being this big lawsuit, and they finally had to settle with her because they were very obvious about the fact that they fired her for being not Democrat enough. And yet on YouTube, there's all political opinions, right? Everywhere from Marxist to libertarian and everything in between. And because, in the same with religious, right? Everybody in Disney has more or less the same kind of new age. We believe in Disney magic religion, right? There's not a lot of diversity in religious perspectives at Disney, but there is a diversity of religious perspectives on YouTube, right? You can find every religion in the world represented, and people of that religion can talk to their religion. And I'm not just talking about religion in general, but like, are you a premillennial? Well, you can find premillennial voices on YouTube. Are you a postmillennial? You can find postmillennial voices on YouTube. Are you a millennial? Guess what? There are amillennial voices on YouTube. Do you want to listen to publishing news by two dudes? It exists
on two channels at the same time.
And it's on two channels at the same time because those two dudes are professional. And we still have people watching on the Novel Marketing channel. They haven't switched over.
Let them be where they want to be.
They're enjoying the quieter chat.
You know what you can't do on Disney? Watch on two channels at the same time.
Well, actually, you can't. Like, so Disney, Big Disney has both Disney Plus and ESPN. And so some things might exist in both places at the same time. But it's really easy to think, oh, Disney's this big behemoth. But this is the same thing. It's like the Roman Empire didn't fall because it was invaded by the Persian Empire. The Roman Empire fell because it rotted from the inside and was invaded by a whole bunch of separate and not coordinated barbarian bands who saw the vulnerability and just pulled out chunks of it. And everyone is winning on their bingo because I mentioned the Roman Empire.
You know what caused the fall of the Roman Empire? Disney. Okay? That's the point.
I was reading Aristotle. I finally started reading Aristotle, and I'm like, why did I wait to read Aristotle? He's not very complicated. He's like this autistic, nerdy guy explaining emotions, for other autistic, nerdy guys. And I'm totally going to do an episode on Aristotle for novelists coming up. I'm going to break down the book Rhetoric. I'm very excited for it. But we should probably. Is there anything more we should say about the? I think this is enough.
No, that was pretty much it. It was it's basically the shift from corporate content creation now to the creators themselves. Now, again, you don't own that real estate. That's YouTube's real estate, and we went through a whole thing back in 2020 when they were curating. And there were a lot of right-leaning creators who decided to leave the platform and go to like Twitch or any other place that wasn't as curated or censored is what they were calling it. So keep in mind, if you're going to be creating content on YouTube, you do have a lot of freedom. However, there's always the possibility that the rug can get yanked out from under you, and you got to figure out how to get all your followers over to another platform. So again, the novel marketing method still applies.
That's right. And we do see that where people will take their fan base from YouTube and move it other places, right? There's a lot of creators who will go to Rumble or go to X.
Yeah.
And if you're going to try to build your platform on YouTube, it shouldn't be the only place your platform exists. You should try to build an email list, right? Like Jonathan's saying, follow the novel marketing method, but also have potentially other touch points with your audience. So for me, we have the email news. We have the email list. Many of you got emails sending you to the wrong channel, which is why 16 of you are still on the author media novel marketing channel. It's not your fault. I pasted the wrong link, which is why we're streaming in 2 places. I didn't take it down. Because there's still people clicking that link, coming on late. So the 3 stools of the 3 legs of the stool are the newsletter, authormedia.social, and YouTube, and then all the podcast places. But the podcasting can't be canceled. So the podcast is kind of a super stool because in some ways it's even more reliable than email. I can send an email and it might go to your spam, but if you're subscribed to my podcast, you will get the episode delivered to your phone, and there's no one that can break that connection. Podcasting is even better than Rumble in that way. It's a completely free speech platform because it's not a company, it's a technology. It's also spam free because no one can force you to subscribe to your podcast. But I'm going to shut up about the glories of RSS and why it's the best technology on the internet, because I know most people don't know what RSS is, but that's what powers podcasting. So real quick, I'm hosting a webinar on March 24th. So in 11 days, if I'm counting correctly, on the science of book cover design. So this is like the most important element of your book marketing is how your covers look.
Yeah.
And it is one of the topics that's really hard to cover on an audio podcast. I've done it. They were not my best episodes because describing what a good cover looks like verbally is not the best way to demonstrate kind of the principles of book cover design. So I'll be joined by an expert on book cover design. It's a free webinar. There's a link to come to that webinar on the author update version of this video. I don't have that link on the novel marketing version. I apologize.
Just click over, guys. Make Thomas happy, okay? Just click over. All right. Just
you're an adult.
Have some grace. We made a mistake. I'm sorry.
All right. Now,
really, looking at covers is a massive deal. Like, I will look at people's covers and I can actually find the psychological indicators that will tell me what the genre is or what the cover is telling me the genre is. And if you are sending the wrong subconscious message, because again, people are browsing at the shallowest level of awareness when they're looking at things like your cover, you need to be aware of what your cover is actually saying to people. My first cover, I had to change it because it was saying the wrong things. I liked that first cover. It was a good first cover, but it was not good at marketing what I was selling. Once I changed it, sales went up because I was now making the correct subconscious promise to my reader who was barely conscious when they were buying the book. So this is a big deal. I recommend you guys go to this webinar.
I can't tell you how many authors I've talked with whose books weren't selling. They switched to a better cover and suddenly their book started selling because all of your marketing will fall apart if the cover is bad, right? It doesn't matter how good your advertising is, how many radio shows and podcasts and all that you're doing. It will get canceled. And I have now I'm adding right now the webinar link to the novel market. So now y'all can click to the webinar link and stay on the novel marketing version.
Yes. All right. So moving on with all of our news, we're now going back to Cloudflare. We're in AI news again. Cloudflare rolls out the carrot and stick strategy for AI crawlers. We've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks. We had Markdown for agents, but now they've taken another step forward. On March 10th, they launched the new crawl endpoint. This tool lets developers crawl an entire website with a simple API call. You submit a starting URL, The system discovers pages using sitemaps and links. It does a lot of AI and coding magic, which I'm sure very few authors even understand what that means. If you are blanking out when I talk about HTML,
let me
JSON,
explain.
or
Let me explain. So Cloudflare is a company that helps behind the scenes for websites to load. They manage a lot of DNS stuff, and they're often a middleman. And we've been covering them because your website probably runs Cloudflare behind the scenes. A lot of websites do, whether you realize it or not. Some of you use it on purpose. Some of you, whatever company you're using for your website, is using Cloudflare.
Magic Box does magic things.
Yes. And so last year we covered a lot of news about how Cloudflare was adding all of these anti-AI features. They'll manage your robots.txt. They'll detect and block AI bots. And this year, they're adding all of these pro AI features where they're making it easier for bots to scrape your website. They're making it easier for bots to copy the whole website over. And the buzz on X completely misunderstands this. It's being presented as, oh my goodness, Cloudflare is changing sides. And now Cloudflare has joined Team AI. And that's not actually what's happening. What's happening is they are using the carrot and the stick to try to create an AI pays for your website through a micropayment infrastructure where you can allow, if the AI is a friendly AI and it's paying and it's compatible, it will get your website on a silver platter or it gets blocked. Because if you just block it, the AIs will spend the money to go around the blocking. Because to allow a human through and not a bot, all the bot has to do is do a really good job of looking human. And that's very doable. Claudebot can do this. Many
Terminator
of the other AI agents,
this, I'm just going to say.
Yeah, can do this. But that's very expensive. And so the strategy is to make it cheaper to do it legally than it is to do it illegally. This was what killed piracy, what killed Napster. It wasn't all the lawsuits. It was iTunes being so easy to get a high quality MP3 in your computer that it was easier and cheaper on a per hour basis to pay for the music than it was to pirate the music. In fact, Steve Jobs made this presentation that pirating music, you're getting paid $4 an hour because of how much time pirating music cost. It's like, just use iTunes. It's 99 cents a song. It's a better deal. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Cloudflare. And I think this is kind of the trend of where the whole industry is going. Having a straight across the board anti-AI stance doesn't work because the AIs will just get around whatever your stance is. But a carrot and stick strategy, I think, is very effective.
And one cool thing that I saw on this is that it's a pay-per-crawl system. So the site owners can now charge AI companies for access to their content. So when a crawler requests a page, it pays the set price or receives a payment required response. Cloudflare then handles that transaction as the merchant of record, which means that if you're a nonfiction person who has a good website and you have good stuff on your website and an AI bot comes for an answer to someone's question, you can now get paid because that AI found you to answer that question for them. So this is it's not way better, but it is better than it was when they were just taking the answer from your website and just delivering it and you got nothing.
And signing up for Cloudflare, you can get a free account. It's the kind of free account that I actually support because if you get attacked by bots, like a DDoS attack, which is older than AI, large language models, we've had DDoS attacks for decades. Cloudflare, that was kind of what they got started with, was dealing with those bots. You have to already have a free account with them to be able to pay them to help you from the attack. And so they have actually a really generous free account that you can then pay to upgrade. So the whole goal of the free account is to get you to start routing your DNS through them so that maybe down the road you start to pay for some of their more expensive features. So it is now time.
Not yet. One question.
Oh, okay.
So you would listen to this book, right? Jason and the Argonauts getting the golden fleece.
Oh,
I would listen to that book.
Jason, for those of you who don't know, is it's kind of like a computer language. It's also kind of like you can use it for computers to interact with each other. So JSON and APIs go together.
It's hilarious decoding people.
we have too many bugs with this stream for as many nerdy jokes as we are cracking. The fact that we have made major mistakes, technical mistakes, and now we're cracking technical jokes. So it is time for Zeitgeist.
The Zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist. And this is a Zeitgeist I was so nervous about doing. I put it off. I teased it a week or two ago, and then I put it off because I knew it was going to be dramatic. And then it blew up on X, and we could have had the scoop, but now Elon Musk has tweeted it, and there's tens of millions of people all discussing this topic. And so we're getting to it. We're getting to it early. And so let me explain Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist has to do with changing culture. Culture is changing. There's a meme that's going viral right now. It's this guy waking up. It's from the movie Inception. I forget the name of the actor. He's very famous.
DiCaprio?
Yeah, DiCaprio. And he's kind of realizing he's in a whole new world. And that is very viral right now because a lot of people are feeling that the rate of change, they're like waking up and they're realizing it's a whole new world. So there are a lot of things that affect the zeitgeist. So often when we talk about the zeitgeist, we talk about it in terms of the secular cycle, which is this societal cycle that the ancient Romans noticed. And actually, it goes back to the ancient Etruscans, even before the ancient Romans, in this concept of a seculum. And people have been observing this cycle, this generational cycle, for 3,000 years, because some people say Solomon observed it as well. With his nothing new under the sun, you can kind of see this secular cycle of these kind of generational turnings. So we talk about the turnings a lot. It's not what we're talking about today, because there are other things that impact the zeitgeist. Technology has a huge impact on the zeitgeist. The emergence of the iPhone, the emergence of the Kindle had a huge impact on the zeitgeist. But there is another thing that impacts the zeitgeist, and that is biology. And so before we get to the story, I have to give a disclaimer, because this story is based out of science and there's studies on both sides. So we're going to try to be as fair and balanced as possible.
We're going to make people mad. Okay.
More than normal. I know we say that every zeitgeist one, but this one is spicy.
You're gonna get mad.
There is a religious view amongst a lot of people. Some of you have this religious view that humans are blank slates. And not just humans are blank slates, but all creatures are blank slates. And they are a product of their environment. And so sociological factors determine who you are. And so you'll hear people who believe in it's known as blank slate theory. There's no scientific proof for this. This is a religious tenet because we have a lot of scientific proof that biology matters. But like a core tenet of blank slate theory is that there's no such thing as a bad dog, only a bad owner, right? So the breeding of the dog doesn't matter. It's only the environment of the dog that matters. And if that's you, if this is a religious view for you, that we're products of our environment, biology has no impact on us, this segment is just going to be super triggering. And part of me is like, you can leave, but you know what? You're welcome to stay, and you're welcome to leave angry comments. Those are actually really good for engagement. The thumbs down, like our most viewed videos have the highest number of thumbs down. Not because we want people to thumbs us down or leave us angry comments, but for whatever reason, Google's algorithm rewards that. So I personally think that blank slate theory is nonsense. So yes, bad company can corrupt good morals, but biology matters, right? I believe that dogs that are bred for centuries to fight bulls to the death in a bull baiting ring, which is a sport that was made illegal 150 years ago, but the descendants of those dogs from bull baiting still exist. So if you're not familiar with bull baiting, they would take a dog and a bull, a male cow, and they'd put them in a ring together, and they would fight to the death until either the bull died or the dog died. It was a very bloody sport, because for the dog to win, it would have to bite the bull's neck, hold on until it ripped the throat out of the bull, and the bull would bleed to death. And the bull would have to gore the dog with its horns. It was a very violent sport. So violent, we made it illegal. But we still have dogs with bull in the name because they were bred to kill bulls. On the other hand, a dog bred to guard sheep is very different because it has different biology. And anybody who's bred animals or raised animals can tell you that genetics matter. But there are other things that affect our biology than just our genetics, and chemicals can affect our biology as well, and pharmaceuticals can affect our biology. So this is the beginning of a series of Zeitgeist segments we're going to do, where I'm going to talk about pharmaceuticals.
Let me
and
let me talk for a little bit first, okay?
Okay.
So Thomas is approaching the scientific. I did behavior. That was my job in the Marine Corps. I tracked behavior. I predicted behavior. And there are so many small factors that they're so small people think they're just part of the world, and they don't notice that they're having an effect, pushing or pulling them in one direction or another. These things have to be taken into account. Like, I'm a hand-to-hand fighter too. And when your opponent is always different, you can't just say this is a Taekwondo guy. Okay, what kind of Taekwondo guy is he? Like, what's his muscle density? Because how much is this gonna hurt? You know, like, does he have long legs? Does he have a weakness in his legs because they're so long? If they're short, does he kick like a mule? You know, because it freaking hurts. Like, the target points change based on how tall he is, how aggressive he is, how he was trained, how he was taught, what openings he was triggered to go for. Because when you're fighting, you're moving so fast, you just move off of triggers. You don't see openings, you get triggered by an opening. And this kind of thing really applies here, and we're gonna drip it into why this applies to authors. You need to bear with us right now. You see, it's only one Marine thing to like the 14 Roman ones we've gotten so far. You need to keep track of this. Stick with us. We're going to bring it around to why it matters for authors. Go ahead, Thomas.
So people's preferences in books are an extension of how they're feeling, right? So how somebody's feeling in the moment affects what kind of book they're in the mood for, right? You're not always in the mood for every kind of book, and how you're feeling affects that. And one of the things that affects your feelings is your hormones, which leads us to hormonal birth control. That's right. We're talking about the pill.
Woo!
Enough intro.
Here we go.
So now then, read us this story. Hit us with some science.
All right. So in around 2013, there was this experiment published in Psychoneuroendocrinology, which is an awesome word. I had to practice how to say it before the show started. In 2013, women who started the pill showed a measurable drop in their preference for masculine male faces. Now, this study looked at real couples. Partners chosen by women on the pill had measurably less masculine facial features than those chosen by women not using hormonal contraception. Now, in the past few days, I saw a story on X about this put out by Evie Magazine, and it was saying many women are split on whether they consider Henry Cavill more attractive or Timothée Chalamet more attractive. So I ran a little experiment of my own, and I went to the women in my life, none of whom are on hormonal birth control, and I asked them, who's more attractive, Henry Cavill or Timothée Chalamet? And they responded with violence, because it was obvious that Henry Cavill was the more attractive male. And why am I asking such a stupid question? Like, I had to ban my wife, and not because, my wife is like this. I banned her because I'm insecure. I banned her from watching Man of Steel because Henry Cavill was shirtless and he had a hairy chest and he had the beard and everything. And I'm like, I can't compete with that. Okay. Are you insane? Like, I would marry Henry Cavill. Like, and watching this kind of thing take place and what preferences women have, and then whether they're taking hormonal birth control, really mattered, because a lot of ladies do really like Timothée Chalamet and prefer him.
There's also a lot of anecdotal evidence, and I've been hearing this more and more as people are realizing it, that women are on who are on hormonal birth control while they're dating and engaged will get off of it after they get married, and their preferences will reset. Yeah. And suddenly the man that they were in love with on birth control, now that their hormones are different, they don't have the exact feelings for now that they're off of hormonal birth control. Yeah. I haven't seen any scientific studies on this. but I've heard a lot of anecdotal versions of this, and I don't know how you would do a study of like, do you feel different about your man now that you're off of birth
Well, there's so
control?
many things that change that, right? It's like
Yeah.
when you marry the bad boy. Okay, say you went for the masculine bad boy. He's adventurous and dangerous and all that kinds of stuff, but then he's not a good dad. Like he goes out drinking with the guys instead of coming home to help with the baby or something like that. That's another factor to consider because there's so many social and interpersonal factors that take place after marriage, especially when you introduce a dependent like a child.
Wait, actually, I failed to read ahead in this source. So popular coverage amplifying the findings. A 2012 Scientific American article noted that women who met their partners while on their pill later reported lower sexual satisfaction in some cases, yet they stayed together longer and felt more content with non-sexual support. The pattern suggested a trade-off: less pull together, high testosterone traits, more emphasis on dependable ones.
Yeah, that's
Um,
because in the study they were noting that the pill mimics a pregnancy like hormonal state, okay, and it smooths out natural cycles. Now, when ladies are pregnant, my wife has been pregnant 5 times, so I kind of have some experience now. They want to be safe, okay. What do? They start nesting, right? I'm rearranging furniture constantly. I'm we're doing the baby room. We're getting the baby book ready. I'm running out at 10:30 at night to get pickle ice cream. Whatever. Because it's all about making the woman feel safe enough to be able to give birth to a new life. What is one thing that women always say? The world is too dangerous to bring children into. And they're not wrong. Okay. And it's part of my job as the guy to be dangerous in return so that when bad guys come for my family, I'm the bad guy. Like, I'm going to be the villain of this story real quick.
So romance. So now let's talk about romance fiction. So we start in the 1960s. No one's on hormonal birth control. It's illegal. And then you start to see a rise in use on hormonal birth control. And I pulled up a chart of this, and you see a rise in the 1960s of women who've ever used hormonal birth control until it starts to plateau around 80%, starting between 1982 and 1985. So right in that 1985 period is where you have kind of peak hormonal birth control usage, and it's plateaued there. So it's stayed pretty flat. We don't have the really recent data. I suspect we're going to start to see those numbers going down because younger women are starting to realize the impacts that hormonal birth control are having on them and how it reduces their fertility and various other things. And just the buzz on TikTok is starting to be more anti hormonal birth control. But
And just as a point of interest, in 1985, when this thing peaked and women needed a man, that's when I was born, the ultimate man.
So women on hormonal birth control are looking for more feminine characteristics in the man. So who appears on his first romance cover in 1986?
Fabio. The hair.
It's like right on schedule, right? So
The
Fabio
chest.
has masculine characteristics, but he also has long, beautiful hair, feminine characteristics, and he's
always
the
holding and
encapsulation.
nurturing the woman.
Yeah. In fact, he's there holding the woman. Now it's very interesting. His first novel, he was on 3,000 romance novels, and he kind of dominated the late 80s and early 90s romance market. He was on almost all the covers of at least of the top books. But if you look at Hearts of Flame today, it's a cover of only the woman, which is very interesting, and how preferences have changed. They've taken Fabio off. You'll still see him on the hardbacks. I don't think they're still printing the hardback, but you don't see him on the ebook, which is what the author is controlling right now. And you don't see him on the paperback, which is very telling. So the preferences amongst female readers in romance are for this more effeminate male lead in the romance books, if they are on or have ever been on hormonal birth control. And this is why knowing your Timothy is so important, because not all women are on the pill, right? Some women have never been on the pill, right? Some women have religious objections. Some women were put on it as soon as they start having a period. they talk to a doctor like, oh, periods are bad, you shouldn't have a period, start taking this birth control. And so they were on it really, really early. And that varies family to family, but we're seeing an influence of romance, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because I know we have a lot of romance authors here. I have a theory that actually we need to let's keep exploring this, because there's a second add-on to the pill that we got to build in here. So the science is not settled, however. Larger and more recent studies push back. Right, so there's studies on both sides. So there was a 2019 analysis of over 6,400 women that found no difference in masculine preferences between the pill users and non-users. And so this is where we have to like dig into the methodology, and I don't want to go too deep on this. But the debate is happening right now on X, and the EV Magazine commentary really does seem, in this Chalamet Henry Cavill debate, really does seem to support this, where women who are on hormonal birth control prefer Chalamet, women who are not on birth control are more likely to prefer Henry Cavill. And if you're writing a story for women who are on birth control, you want a male hero who's more like Chalamet. And if you're writing a story for women who are not on birth control, you want a hero who's more like Cavill. But it's not just the women who are affected by the pill. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. So, guys, I have bad news. We react to women's hormonal levels, and it's not just with exasperation and exhaustion. Testosterone can decrease in response to women's hormonal cycles. So they increase and they decrease. We go through cycles ourselves. Research from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism in 2007 first highlighted age-independent falls in U.S. men. Later data showed that even sharper drops among younger men between 1999 and 2016. Some groups fell from averages near 600 nanograms per deciliter down below 450. People are suspecting that synthetic hormones from birth control rank among the key suspects. Now, normal cycling women release monthly cues through body odor and pheromones. Those signals increase testosterone in nearby men.
Wait, time out. We're racing ahead, because there's two factors here that are getting lost. When they're saying environmental cycles, what we're talking about is the hormones and I think they're called androgens. The estrogens, various chemicals that trigger these hormonal reactions from birth control get into the water supply through the circle of water supply. And the kinds of water treatments that are done to kill bacteria and viruses don't kill chemicals that are androgen inhibitors, are fiddling with hormones in various ways. And so if you're drinking water that's been processed, there's a possibility that you're ingesting these environmental estrogens. And these are the environmental factors that they're looking at. But it's not just environmental factors. Let's say you are living on a ranch and you have a well, and your water is not being processed and it's not being influenced by these environmental chemicals, let's say. There's another knock-on effect, which takes us to normally cycling women. Jonathan?
So they release these monthly cues through odor, pheromones. This raises testosterone in nearby men. This is like a natural thing so that men will feel more protective and will want to take care of this woman. However, the pill flattens these natural cycles.
Right. So if you have a married couple, the woman is signaling to the man through these pheromones and these odors when she's at maximum fertility, which increases fertility for the human species, right? This is like a natural biological cycling. And I've even seen charts of like male testosterone and how female cycles affect male hormones. So this is a normal thing, but if the women aren't cycling through their hormones, it affects the men that they're closest to. So imagine you have normal men are around normal women pre the pill, and at any given time, those women are releasing those pheromones if you're interacting with lots of women, which is triggering a boost in testosterone. And suddenly, as many as 80% of the women stop releasing those pheromones. What's the impact on the testosterone? It's a drop in testosterone of the men.
Yep. Well, what does that mean? Well, men with lower testosterone aren't as aggressive. They're not as likely to try to tackle challenging things. It like we did a study. I say we did a study. We showed Marines versus Air Force. Okay, and the differences in testosterone and the differences in the way we tackle problems and what problems we would choose to tackle. Like I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today. It was like Marines don't look at a problem and say, I can't handle that. They say, okay, what kind of crime do I have to commit to take care of this problem? Whereas other people are like, nope, that looks scary. I'm not going for that. That's a machine gun nest. Those hurt, you know.
Jonathan's just jealous because the Air Force is having all the fun right now, or most.
I'm having fun with them. I love Air Force bombs because Air Force bombs are full of all the testosterone the Air Force guys don't have.
So let's connect. So we've been talking about the science, right? Men have less testosterone as a result of the pill from two different factors. There's the environmental contaminations getting into the water table factor, and then there's the women not releasing the pheromones because they're on the pill factor. Double factors reducing testosterone. I wonder if the pill killed the Western. Because the Western as a genre, the Western movie is a very masculine genre. It's about rough and high T men doing rough and dangerous things. And if you have an ambient reduction in testosterone in the society, as well as women not preferring as much masculine traits in men, suddenly Westerns just aren't quite as appealing. That rugged, manly man with the hairy chest and covered in sweat shooting the bad guys isn't quite as resonant as it once was.
Well, what happened at the same time in the 1960s? You had the sexual revolution, which is what the pill was kind of brought in for. Although we were loosening the social mores on relations between men and women in the United States. And it's where you got the hippies, you know, people sleeping around, open relationships, you know, all this stuff. And you had the rise of these guys who had beautiful long hair, playing guitar, singing, doing drugs, you know, all this kinds of stuff. And that was kind of what was happening socially at the time, which is why the pill was so important. So I wonder if there weren't just social impetus as well to the killing of the Western, because what's required for a good Western? You got to have a strong man who believes in his beliefs and his values, and he's protecting the homestead or someone else's homestead. Okay, even in the anti-hero stories, you had guys who were fighting for other families, like a Magnificent Seven, for instance.
So this comment is really interesting, talking about how they moved from the West into the cities.
Yeah,
like Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood, but Dirty Harry was in the 70s, I think. By the time we get to the 90s, who was in The Matrix? Keanu Reeves, right? Keanu Reeves is very much more in that Timothée Chalamet line of protagonists, and Tom Cruise, more of a Timothée Chalamet type character. You know, he's a beautiful man, right? He's not a handsome man, right? The days of Chuck Norris, who's not a beautiful man, but his beard has another fist, right?
I think more guys like Chuck Norris than women.
Chuck Norris didn't have the appeal in the late 90s that Keanu Reeves had, right? There was this shift in preferences away from masculinity alone to wanting more beauty and more feminine characteristics, right?
So
Keanu Reeves is not tough, especially Keanu Reeves right. He is now, right, and as he's been rebooted as John Wick, he's actually a much more masculine character as John Wick than he ever was as Neo.
So you've also got like Brad Pitt, right, who was like the iconic beautiful guy for a while, and he did some traditional masculine roles like Achilles in Troy, or he did Mr. and Mrs. Smith is one of my favorite, I guess, rom-coms is what you would call it. I just really enjoy it. It's really subversive. But he's a very attractive guy that really appealed to women. Now, someone brought up in the chat here, what about Arnold? Arnold doesn't appeal to women. Arnold appeals to guys because he's the fantasy. He's the giant muscles, and
Yes,
he's the square-shaped head, you know.
I remember looking at I was much younger, and I was there was a I'm trying to remember the exact situation, but we were like pacing through films. There was a group of us, and they're like a poster for an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie came up, and he was like all muscly, and the woman, or the young woman next to me, had this like visceral act of disgust, and I remember being kind of shocked, like, you don't find that appealing? And she didn't find it appealing at all.
No.
And I was like, Arnold is the ultimate man in my mind, and yet
Right.
he was not the ultimate man in her mind. And this is where because we also saw in the late 80s kind of the era of the muscly man. So Arnold wasn't the only one. There was a bunch of these kind of really masculine men, but they were making movies for men. This is why knowing your Timothy is so important, because low T men often look up to high T men. And so if you're
high T men look up to higher T men, you know.
yeah there's always a higher T man. Oh, the chat is going faster than I can read. So
someone brought up something interesting, which is Timothée Chalamet is highly intelligent. Maybe women like that more than fist fighting, and that's a good point. Okay, but Henry Cavill isn't known for fist fighting. He's also highly intelligent. So what? One problem I notice a lot of women have this in the trad pub industry is they don't like Henry Cavill because he fights with the writers on whatever show he's on to make it more
masculine,
true to the source material. Okay, yeah. There's lots of memes going around right now about how Henry Cavill is telling the writers, "You're on a 3-strike. If you make 3 mistakes, you're out of here." Okay, read the codex before you talk to me, because he's working on the Warhammer 40K series, which is his baby. Okay, he loves Warhammer 40K. So there's all these memes going around now about how Henry Cavill is like putting the writers through the ringer over this, and that's something that's not a cooperative endeavor. Okay, and this is something that a lot of women will agree with me on. Women like things to go along well. They don't like for there to be a lot of infighting and a lot of conflict and tension and stuff. You know, they want there to be a lot of cooperation and people are getting along. And Cavill's not doing that. He's standing up for the source material against the writers, which means he's bucking the team. He's creating conflict. And as a masculine man, he is comfortable with that. But a lot of people who don't prefer that kind of thing, you have an issue. Oh, that's a good question. Do you prefer Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn or Orlando Bloom and Legolas? In my opinion, Orlando Bloom has only ever acted like a man in the movie Kingdom of Heaven. Prove me wrong. I'm not a huge fan of him in Pirates of the Caribbean. Legolas isn't a man. He's an elf. Okay, so he did well. He's not a bad actor. But we're talking about acting like a man. If you watch Troy, you really hated Orlando Bloom. You really hated him. Okay, my wife still throws stuff at the TV when she sees him as Paris on Troy. But in Kingdom
Paris
of Heaven,
is not exactly a likable character.
Well, sure, and that's not his fault, either. Right? That's not his fault. But when he acted in Kingdom of Heaven, where he is a young man trying to become a knight and following the values of his father, but also trying to find God in the middle of this really complex war in Jerusalem, you really get a lot of respect for what it was that he was trying to do. And at the very end of the movie, when he is holding Jerusalem against the Muslims, who he actually liked Salahuddin. I mean, they got along. Like they were both like the same guy, kind of. You know, he created all these knights just because he could, and he stood up against the church to do it. You just get a lot of respect for the way the character went. Okay, that's my Orlando Bloom tangent.
Okay, here's an interesting comment as we get back to fiction. Although Kingdom of Heaven had a lot of fictional elements.
Yeah.
So let's talk about humor and relationships. So humor, well done humor, is very risky, right? The best jokes are often right at the edge of appropriateness, right? The safe jokes that children crack, the how did the chicken cross the road type jokes and the dad jokes, those are not as funny as true humor because they're not as dangerous as true humor. And so actual comedy, good comedy, requires actually a lot of risk taking, a lot of testosterone, I would argue.
I get in trouble all the time for my humor. In fact, there's a lot of things Thomas doesn't let me say because of my sense of humor. In fact, he was very concerned about my talk at the novel marketing conference because of my sense of humor. Okay, I like to live dangerously. And if people get mad at me about it, well, I'm not trying to offend people, first of all, unless I am trying to offend you, and then you will know it. But most of the time, I just want people to laugh and have a good time and, think about something that they weren't thinking about before. Humor is a resiliency trait. You'll know they did a study on this among military personnel and first responders and emergency personnel. They had a dark sense of humor. We are way more likely to joke about someone dying or just horrible, awful things that normal people don't really want to think about or talk about. And they'll be like, why do you think that's funny? Because that's awful and horrible. Well, we live in horrible and awful places. And the way that I liked to explain it to people is you're making light of the dark. So we like I was hunting ISIS. They were torturing people in real life, not joking about it. They would kill people. They would target the innocent on purpose to cause terror. And that was their goal. And so we were living in a really dark environment as we were trying to stop these guys. And so your humor gets dark. And they found it creates a resiliency component to where you can live and recover in that dark environment when you're joking around with your brothers, when you have your camaraderie, when you have your resiliency component. And those who find humor in dark times are way more likely to survive them.
They're also more likely to be courageous. The cracking a joke in the face of danger is a way of signaling courage, because courage is contagious as fear is contagious.
Mhm.
And so it's like we're all feeling something. So I'm going to crack a joke, right? That kind of grim gallows humor is a key element of war fighting and has been for a long
Mhm.
time, to the point that C.S. Lewis even writes about it, whether or not it's ethical. He has like a whole exploration of, can Christian soldiers celebrate victory? And is that kind of humor ethical for a Christian
Yeah.
soldier? And it's very, and in C.S. Lewis's take on it, I put a lot of stock in because I have a high respect for him as a theologian, and he's actually seen combat, right? He was in the trenches in World War I. And so him talking about the horrors of war
Mhm.
has a lot more weight than some pastor who the worst thing that ever happened to him was one of the ladies in his church yelled at him because she didn't like a joke in his sermon, right? It's like, these are not the same. Getting bombed by the Germans, getting pulled off of the front lines because a artillery shell blew up behind you.
Now, I'm not a Dan Crenshaw fan, really, but he was on The View one time, and one of them was saying, like, this is an attack on this kind of thing. He's like, no, stop saying that. You don't know what feeling attacked feels like until there's bullets over your head. Like, getting attacked is getting attacked. Okay, you trying to enhance your situation to make it feel like you're getting attacked and try to get sympathy that way, or claim you have PTSD because of this social situation you were in, is not the same as being attacked. And the resilience and the people who will try to find victimhood in situations that is not a victim scenario, like you weren't actually victimized, are way less likely to tolerate humor about it. Whereas those who have been attacked and they have had people come after them are way more likely to use humor as a way to release the stress, let the pressure off, release some steam. It doesn't have to be this intense all the time. Geez, chill out, Karen. Like,
so bringing this back, because we're just about out of time, but bringing this back to writing fiction and the changing zeitgeist, this is why having a real life Timothy is so useful for navigating the zeitgeist. And we have two really good tests, because if you ask your Timothy, are you on birth control? That's kind of a rude question, and a question you may not get a honest answer to. But asking, who do you like better, Aragorn or Legolas? Who do you like better, Timothy Chalamet or
Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill, right? If you get Legolas and Timothy Chalamet, both those answers, that tells you a lot about your target reader.
Mhm.
And if you get Henry Cavill and Aragorn, that tells you a lot about your target reader. And that's a really safe question that you can ask. It's actually a fun, I would create 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah,
Put them
because
in your
people have
onboarding
opinions on
sequence.
this. Like,
yeah, and be like, hey, who do you like better? This guy or this guy, this guy or this guy? And what it does several things for you. 1, it helps increase engagement on your email. 2, readers love getting these kinds of emails and they love
Yeah.
sharing who they like better. And 3, it tells you about the kind of character that resonates with your target reader so that you can, because you're not going to change somebody, right? You're not going to convince somebody, hey, this hormonal birth control you're taking, it's reducing your fertility, it's changing your hormones, you're going to regret taking it. And like, no one's going to believe you when you say that. They don't want to hear that sermon, right? They're like, who are you? You're not my dad. You're not my doctor. You're not my mom. You're not my boss, whatever. So you're not here to change your reader. You're here to love your reader. So, and to love your reader and to write books that your reader will love, you need to know what they're going to like and what kind of characters they'll resonate with.
I do this with my wife, right? Because your wife doesn't stay the same person over 10 years of marriage, which is where I'm at right now. And so I'll constantly be asking her, seeing what's her trigger. Hey, what kind of ice cream do you feel like tonight? Do you want a fresher ice cream or do you want a chocolate one? Jaina brings up something great. Which Darcy? Okay, because women care a lot about which Darcy are we talking
I feel like
about
all
here.
of the Darcys are pretty high tea. I don't know if it's that.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Ladies, sound off in the chat. Which Darcy is the
Mormon
low-tea
Pride
Darcy?
and Prejudice? Absolutely not. My wife's favorite is Colin Firth, and that is the only. Like, the others try, and they're doing their best, but it's Colin Firth, and and I was like, but what if Henry Cavill was Mr. Darcy? And she was like, she couldn't, like, her brain was breaking at that possibility.
All right.
The asking your reader what they prefer is a great way of figuring out how you can love them. Like, I ask my wife, like, what are you in the mood for? What are you thinking about? What are you feeling? You look like you had a rough day. What can I do to take care of you for that? Because a happy wife is a happy life, guys. You really need to know your reader in the same way and ask them questions and listen to them. It's just like they always tell husbands, listen to your wife. Listen to your wife. Stop solving her problem because you're listening at a surface level and trying to solve the problem so that you can move on. And she just wants you to listen to her and learn about her. And the Bible says this: live with your wives according to knowledge. You need to learn your wife. You need to learn your reader. What are they responding to? Have they changed for some social reason, some chemical reason? It's, again, like Thomas said, it's not your job to change them. It's your job to learn them and then love them. Teach them something that might help them, give them escape, release the stress that they're going through, solve a problem for them if you're in nonfiction. That is our goal and our ministry as authors. And the chat is
why I have it in the mug.
Pride and Prejudice thing.
I will have these for sale at some point. I'll figure it out. Who would have thought the Pride and Prejudice would set the...
Oh, this is a great question. Which James Bond?
Oh.
Okay, I'm a Pierce Brosnan guy. I don't really like Daniel Craig that much, even though they would say he's more masculine. When I'm looking for James Bond, I'm looking for smooth. Now, they were taunting Henry Cavill as James Bond, and apparently he lost to Daniel Craig in the final screenings because he was so young at the time. They were screening for Casino Royale, and Henry Cavill lost because he was so young.
I think an onboarding email where you ask people who's your favorite Bond works for both male and female authors for almost every genre, because most people have a strong opinion. Their Bond is the favorite Bond and everybody else is wrong. But with that, I will say this is the first of a series. We're not necessarily going to do it next week, so I'll have to work up the courage. We'll see if we get demonetized this time or not. But we have on the list GLP-1s and SSRIs as we talk about the pharmaceutical impact.
Everybody's going to be so mad.
But it's the taking risks, trying to keep it interesting. We'll be back next week for p.m. Central Time for Author Update
on one
and
channel.
on hopefully just one channel next year. So for those of you watching on Novel Marketing, it was my bad. But do like Author Update. Also do like Novel Marketing. Novel Marketing just passed 10,000 subscribers. Very excited about that. And with that, I shall say I am Thomas Stemstat Jr.
And I am Jonathan Sugar.
Live long and prosper.